Hello and welcome to another Magic 2015 gameplay. Today we're taking another look at the Warp World archetype, because there are many variations out there. This time around we're not playing green, so no cultivates. Instead we're trying to maximize our permanent count. In fact, the only non-permanent card in this deck is Warp World itself. If you haven't seen it before, it's an 8 mana sorcery that makes you and your opponent shuffle all their permanents back into their library and reveal an equal amount and put them into play. So since our deck is built to have all permanents basically, and the opponent's deck is not, casting a Warp World will be highly beneficial to us. In fact, once we've cast a Warp World, we should actually have more permanents in play than we've started out with, because we have cards like Captain of the Watch, Cartographer, Squadron Hawk, and even Rune-Scarred Demon that all help us get extra permanents. And once we've cast a Warp World, since we are playing all basic lands in this deck that all come into play untapped, once we've cast Warp World, as well as the Ingot and the Meteorite to make extra mana, we should be able to recast Warp World if we got it back from a Warden. So starting from Warp World number 1, we reveal a Warden of the Eye, which can return the Warp World from the graveyard into our hand. We cast that same Warp World once again, thanks to all our untapped lands and mana producers, and we keep doing this over and over, unless of course we don't hit a Warden or don't have a second Warp World. But if we do manage to cast Warp Worlds over and over again, the opponent's permanent count will decrease if they have multiple instants and sorceries in their deck, while our permanent count should actually start increasing slightly until our opponent's left with no permanents in play and we have our entire deck in play, and at that point it should be pretty easy to win. It doesn't always go infinite like that, but still casting a Warp World will be highly beneficial for us, and our deck is built to take advantage of it. So that's what Warden of the Eye is doing in this build. It helps get back the Warp World, as well as cards like Traveler's Amulet and cards like Arrest, which does not work with Archaeomancer. So let's start from the beginning here. We've got a Wall of Omens, just a good defensive card that draws us an additional card, a permanent in play of course, that helps us get to the late game by blocking. Then we've got a Squadron Hawk, a 2 mana 1/1 flyer that helps search up 3 other Squadron Hawks in our library. So for 1 card we get access to 4 permanents, which is nice. We've got Mentor of the Meek for some card advantage, because in testing I've found that this build struggled a bit when it started to draw too many lands and mana producers, so it needed some extra card draw, and Mentor of the Meek certainly helps with that. Works nicely with cards like Squadron Hawk, with Wall of Omens, Cartographer and Captain of the Watch, so if you have some spare mana you can pay 1 and draw an extra card. Also works very well with Warp World, so once you cast Warp World you have a Mentor of the Meek in play, as well as some other cheap creatures. You can pay some additional mana to start drawing more cards, because they all enter the battlefield at the same time. So then we've got Arrest, which is also a permanent and that acts as a removal spell, and we can also get it back with the Warden of the Eye, because it says non-creature, non-land, so not like Archaeomancer that only returns instants and sorceries. So it's a nice removal spell, and if you do cast a Warp World and perhaps the opponent gets a giant creature in play and you get an Arrest in play, then you can just arrest that giant creature and don't have to worry about the opponent attacking you with it. Then we've got Kor Cartographer, which is just a ramp spell. So basically when you cast her you get an additional permanent in play. So if you get her with Warp World you basically get 2 permanents for 1. So once you cast a second Warp World you get even more permanents in play. So it just helps us ramp and get to our 8 mana faster, which is all we really want, as well as leaving an extra permanent behind. We've got Captain of the Watch, which comes with 4 permanents total and also helps killing the opponent. You can also just cast this on turn 5 or 6 and that should also be pretty good. and also pumps your Mantra of the Meek, which is not irrelevant. And then we've got Rune-Scarred Demon, which is our only black card, but basically acts as a Warp World number 3 and 4 to make the deck a little more consistent, because you don't always draw the Warp World, and if your deck is built around casting Warp World, you really want to draw it. So Rune-Scarred Demon helps find Warp World, as well as being a very good creature to reveal with Warp World, because it still allows you to find more cards in your library, which is always nice. Also just a 6/6 flyer that kills very quickly. We've got Ogre Battledriver, speaking of killing very quickly. So because we have Ogre Battledriver in our deck, we always want to cast Warp World before attacking, unless we're killing the opponent on that turn. So by revealing Ogre Battledriver with Warp World, all your creatures that you revealed with that Warp World will have +2 and haste. So basically you're able to kill the opponent the turn you cast Warp World, so you don't have to wait for them to maybe get an attack in with the creatures that they revealed, so you can kill on the same turn. Works very nicely with cards like Captain of the Watch, of course, as all the tokens do get the +2/+0 and haste as well. Then we've got Inferno Titan as an additional finisher, also works nicely with cards like Ogre Battledriver and Warp World, because he's able to reduce the opponent's permanent count even further, and also just kills very quickly. Then we've got Warp World itself, of course. We've got Traveler's Amulet to help with the fixing, since we're only playing basic lands and not playing any duels or tri-lands. Traveler's Amulet helps us find those additional black sources or blue sources, and we can also return it with Warden of the Eye once we've sacrificed it, which is also nice. And then we've got Darksteel Ingot, fixes all our mana problems, and also good to reveal with Warp World, as it's basically a land. And Meteorite, which does the same, but also deals 2 damage when he enters the battlefield. And finally Warden of the Eye, which can return Traveler's Amulet, a rest, but more importantly Warp World. Then our mana base, we're running mainly red and white, and just 1 island to fetch with the Amulet, as well as 2 swamps, but the main fixing will be done thanks to the Ingot and the Meteor, of course. Alright, let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Alright, let's take a look at our opening hand, which is not great given that it has 2 Squadron Hawks in hand. So I think I'll try another one, just because we do get a free mulligan. And this is much better. So we can grab a white source with the Amulet here and go Ingot into Cartographer into Warden, getting back an Ingot, or rather an Amulet. So this hand ramps quite a bit. So all we need to draw is a Warp World, Rune-Scarred Demon, or one of our other 6 drops. And there's Rune-Scarred Demon. So let's go ahead and activate the Amulet, grabbing a Plains. So next turn we can cast the Ingot. And the Ingot will provide us with 1 black source. We could have also grabbed the Swamp with the Amulet, but I think before we're able to cast the Rune-Scarred Demon, we can always get back the Amulets and get a Swamp or find another Ingot. So let's go ahead and cast it here and pass the turn. Another benefit from playing the Amulet and the Ingot in the same deck is that this is a 1-drop and also costs 1 to activate it, so you can often combine playing the Ingot and playing or activating the Amulet in the same turn, because usually you're not really using the mana that the Ingot provides the turn you play it. Opponent played a Young Pyromancer, so could be trying to go wide here, which is not really what we want if we're trying to cast a Warp World, because then our opponent will have multiple permanents in play. So here we can go ahead and cast the Warden, returning the Ingot, or we can just cast a Cartographer. which is I think what I'll do here, since we can't play the Warden and activate the Amulet in the same turn or even cast it. So we'd rather ramp a little more here, and then next turn we can play the Warden and play the Amulet. So let's see what our opponent's up to. 4 lands, a red-green so far. Not sure if there's more colors. And that's a Rock Slide Elemental. So becomes larger whenever a creature dies. But does not want to trade the Pyromancer for the Cartographer. So likely does not have a shock in hand, otherwise he would have used it. So Wall of Omens is a nice draw, so we could go Wall of Omens plus Cartographer here, which I actually don't hate. So next turn we can then play the Warden, return the Amulet and use the Amulet in the same turn, because right now we would only be able to play the Amulet but not activate it. So we wouldn't actually make a land drop for the turn. So I think I'll go for the Cartographer here. Maybe should have played the Wall of Omens first, because we would have had a higher chance of drawing one of those planes, and we haven't actually played a land for the turn yet, so drawing a land would have been good. Instead we hit a Traveler's Amulet, not attacking with the Cartographer here, just wanna play defense and see what the opponent's up to. Goblin Arsonist, not bad. Combos with the Elemental, as you can... Right, Act of Treason. Stealing a Cartographer. That's fine. I'm guessing an attack with everyone, but... yeah, this seems pretty pointless, as we can just block like this. So yeah, not the scariest Act of Treason. So we can't quite cast Rune-Scarred Demon this turn. We can, however, play a Warden, returning an Amulet, so we don't give information that we have a second Amulet in hand. Play out the Amulet, activate it, grabbing a Swamp, and then play the Swamp for the turn. And I guess we'll play out the other Amulet and pause the turn. Still staying on defense here, since we can grab Warp World with this Rune-Scarred Demon, and we should have more permanence than the opponent. Ground Assault taking out the Warden is fine. Does mean that Warp World is less likely to reveal a Warden, but we still have one in hand, so that's still fine. And let's see if our opponent attacks here. We want to try and decrease the amount of permanence our opponent has. So we could also just grab an Inferno Titan with this Rune-Scarred Demon. Let's see, so 1, 7, 8. So we have 9 lands basically, or 9 mana. I guess we use this turn still as a setup. Could cast the Rune-Scarred Demon. Could cast Warden, returning Amulet. I guess casting Rune-Scarred Demon's fine. Question is, do we get Warp World or Inferno Titan? I guess we're here to cast Warp World, so let's get that. And here it is. And pause the turn. And next turn we have to decide if we want to attack for 6 with the Rune-Scarred Demon, Or if we want a Warp World first, trying to hit an Ogre Battledriver. Alright, here's a Vengevine. Let's see if he attacks or stays home. Alright, a Brave attack with an Elemental token. Vengevine coming in as well. So our opponent could have a shock here, but I'm not too worried about it. We're still trading permanents here. And I don't care about the elemental growing. So let's see if our opponent does have the shock. Activate the amulet here. Getting, I guess, an island. Alright, play the island. 7, 8, 9. We can also play the Wall of Omens before casting the Warp World, and I think we are casting it, and I think we're casting it main phase 1. Yeah, let's go for it. And hope to hit Battledriver, there it is. As well as some other goodies. Let's see what the opponent gets. He gets some pretty good stuff actually. Pelaka Worm and a Hellkite, as well as Stormbreath Dragon. So Arrest can't hit the Stormbreath because that has Pro White, but we can arrest the Hellkite. Meteorite will kill... we could kill the Arsonist. Yeah, I guess we kill the Arsonist. Pelaka Worm gains our opponent 7 life. Rune-Scarred Demon will find, I guess, another Warp World. And yeah, we should be able to recast it here. Arson is taking out the Squadron Hawk, I'm guessing. Yep. Cartographer going to work. So I guess we cast this other Warp World before attacking, since we would only be smashing this Rune-Scarred into a Stormbreath. And I think we can do better. And I don't think actually we do grab these Squadron Hawks here, because I would rather have them in our library still. So yeah, let's just go for another Warp World and see if we hit something better. Alright, I think this qualifies. We got a Battledriver, a Captain of the Watch and an Inferno Titan, while our opponent only got a Rebel Master and a Pioneer. So we can kill all our opponent's creatures. Get back Warp World. Get some more lands. Draw some more cards. And Battledriver probably means we can attack for lethal here. So we still need to get the tokens from the captain. Meanwhile, everyone getting +2/+0 and haste. There's another captain which we can cast here. So I think I'll do that just to close out this game. Just to make sure. If we hit more red sources, maybe we could have cast another Warp World. But I think our opponent has seen enough here, so let's just try and attack here with everyone. Hope our opponent does not have a fog, and move on to the next one. and deal some more damage. Alright, seems like that worked. Alright, so Battledriver there being pretty important, as well as being able to recast the second Warp World, because on the first one I think our opponent got some pretty good creatures out of it, but with the second one that was no longer the case. Alright, so let's move on to the next one. Okay, let's take a look at our opening hand here, which does need some more lands, but we can go Ingot into Meteorite if we do draw those lands. I think this is a bit of a sketchy keep, because we do need to hit 2 more lands in order to go Ingot into Meteorite, so I think I'll try another one. Alright, this is a lot better. Now we do have all the lands to go Ingot into Meteorite, into Rune-Scarred Demon. A Wall of Omens, also a good draw. Let's play the Amulet and pause the turn. Elvish Visionary for the opponent. Could be a black-green graveyard deck. We're not sure yet. Alright, let's go ahead and, given that we have 2 more lands in hand, I think I'll go ahead and cast the Wall of Omens. And then next turn we can play the Ingot and activate the Amulet in the same turn. And now we also have a blocker for the Visionary. Let's see what the play is here. So there's a Wayfinder, so now we get to see what our opponent's deck is up to. And yep, looks like a graveyard deck with Admirers and Shieldred. So we have to watch out for a rescue from the underworld. 3rd land, no attacks. So let's just go ahead and ramp a bit here. And we don't have to use the Amulet yet. We can wait until the opponent's end step to probably just grab a swamp. And there's a Brain Maggot. Alright. So that can take our Meteorite here probably, since otherwise that would just kill the Brain Maggot. Could also steal our Rune-Scarred Demon, but then we just get it back by killing the Brain Maggot. Alright, decides to take the arrest, which is fine. Attacks, we only take 1. And let's grab that swamp. There's another arrest. Let's just cast Meteorite, killing the Brain Maggot. Get back our arrest. Now we have 2 of them. Pass the turn, and then next turn, let's see, 5, yeah, we should be able to cast Rune-Scarred Demon, which can get Warp World if we want to. Another Brain Maggot. Alright, so that can actually steal the Rune-Scarred Demon, but we'll have time to draw into another Rune-Scarred Demon or the Warp World itself. So we could have, if we wanted to play around a second Brain Maggot, just play the Cartographer last turn instead of the Meteorite. But in order to ramp into the demon, we... Alright, never mind. So let's just go ahead and cast the Cartographer here. And I think we actually put an arrest on one of the opponent's creatures, just to increase our permanent count for the Warp World we're about to cast. and pause a turn. So yeah, probably playing the Meteorite on the Brain Maggot last turn was probably not great. Treasured finds, gonna get back Brain Maggot. Nope, gonna get back land. Alright, luckily our opponent didn't go for the Brain Maggot there. Otherwise he could have taken the Warp World, and then we would have had to wait on another Meteorite or another Warp World. But now it's a turn too late for the opponent. And yeah, just go for it here. We'll get back the card of the Brain Maggots. Didn't reveal anything exceptional here. And our opponent playing Reanimator could hit something scary like Soul of Zendikar. Warden of the Eye will return Warp World. Meteorite will kill, I guess, Brain Maggots. So the card our opponent gets won't matter. And we are 2 lands short of recasting Warp World here. But we can cast Arrest on the Soul of Zendikar and then just go for another Warp World next turn, although we do know our opponent just got back Brain Maggot. But with a Demon in hand we still can get back the second Warp World as well, so let's see here, what's the play? I think we want to get a swamp here. Play out the amulets. And arrest the soul. And pause a turn. And see what the opponent does here. If he plays Brain Maggot, getting the Warp World, we can just Rune-Scarred for another one. If he gets a Rune-Scarred, that's fine. And he could also just opt not to play Brain Maggot here. So already used 2 treasure finds. Is gonna go for the Brain Maggot. But again, no great options. I think you get the Warp World here. Our opponent could also just hope to hit something giant with the Warp World if we cast it. Well, went for the Rune-Scarred Demon, so maybe has the 3rd Brain Maggot in hand. Nope. Alright, Inferno Titan's not bad. So I guess we take a turn off casting Warp World in order to clean up the opponent's board a bit. So let's go ahead and play Inferno Titan. Killing this, and killing this. So this decreases the opponent's permanent count. So we get a better Warp World next turn. I'm gonna attack with these, not offering the trade because I wanna keep the Warden in our Warp World cycle, because if it dies then it won't be included in Warp Worlds. Five lands for the opponent, but comes into play tapped, so no rescue from the Underworld shenanigans. Nemesis is not bad, but it's only 1 permanent, so nothing in the face of Warp World. Alright, Cartographer is nice, but a Warp World is nicer. There's a Captain of the Watch, 2 arrests plus a Battledriver, so we can do some damage here, and we can arrest the Griselbrand. So arrest this. I guess we arrest the assistant, get back Warp World, and kill the Bray Maggot, as well as deal to the opponent. Bray Maggot won't matter, since it's gonna die here, and then we'll be able to attack with some hasty Vigilant Soldiers. Alright, there's our Warp World back. Squadron Hawk getting another one. And we could actually recast Warp World here, but I think I'll try and close out the game, so our opponent doesn't have to sit through all that. So that's a hasty demon, getting another demon I guess. And let's play a Squadron Hawk. And that should be enough, as we can attack with everyone, thanks to the Battledriver. Alright. And there we go. Alright, let's take a look here. Only 1 land and an Amulet on the play. I think we try another one. Alright, and this is much better. So we can curve a Wall of Omens into Ingot, play some Hawks, and we should be able to draw into something sweet. So pause a turn here. Alright, black-green. Let's cast a Wall of Omens, see what we get. I guess there's also an argument for casting the Squadron Hawk there to filter out some Hawks so we don't draw them. We would have only been able to get 2 Hawks, so not the full amount. So if we go for it here, we can still only get 2 other Hawks. So I think we just play the Ingot here, and then next turn try and go for it, as we'll be able to play 2 Hawks. Alright, there's a Blasting Station, so not great if we're trying to play a bunch of Squadron Hawks, unfortunately. But I think we still go for it, as we don't have anything better to do here. Also means that our arrest will not be great. But at the very least, this should buy us some time. So let's pause a turn and see what creatures our opponent has to sacrifice to the Blasting Station. Red, black and green makes sense, as he gets access to Sprouting Thrinax, which is a good sacrifice target. We drew a Cartographer here, but we can attack first. See if the opponent has any responses. And play the Cartographer here, as well as another Hawk. Meanwhile, ramping us a bit. And hopefully we don't run into an Anger of the Gods, because that would reduce our permanent count quite a bit. Alright, there's the Thrinax. So basically he gets to mow down all our hawks here if he wants to sacrifice the Thrinax. So there's one hawk gone, 3 triggers on the blasting station, so can sacrifice him once again. I think the sequencing there wasn't entirely correct, but doesn't really matter here. Let's start by attacking, as I don't mind trading the Cartographer for the 2 sapling tokens here. Alright, opponent takes it. Let's play the Wall of Omens. And there's Captain of the Watch, which isn't bad. Our opponent probably has a way to kill it, but I think that's fine. We still get the tokens. So our opponent's gonna blast away our Squadron Hawk. Yep. So no 1 toughness target left. Pause the turn. See if your opponent has something like Act of Treason, stealing the Captain of the Watch. So hitting Rune-Scarred Demon or Warp World would be pretty nice here. So there's an Act of Treason, stealing the Captain. Goes to attacks. So we could block with the Wall of Omens, but I think I would rather take 3 damage and have an extra permanent in play than risk losing the Wall of Omens. Blasting Station will kill another token here. Captain of the Watch is dead. Alright, let's attack with everyone. And play out our last Squadron Hawk. The blasting station is tapped, so our opponent can't block and then sacrifice. Play the last Hawk. Untapping the blasting station and pass the turn. Alright, so now it's just waiting on another good target. We have 2 Rune-Scarred Demons, another Captain of the Watch, 2 Warp Worlds, and I guess some other medium cards. Alright. Graveborn Muse means our opponent gets to draw some extra cards. But I think I'll go ahead and arrest the Graveborn Muse here so we can attack with the Cartographer. Opponent's gonna sacrifice it in response and kill the Squadron Hawk. But we still get to attack for 3 damage. Could be a bit premature here, but our opponent is only on 4 lands, and the things he's likely gonna play are gonna be better sacrifice fodder than the Graveborn Muse, so we'd rather have our opponent sacrifice that one. Opponent does have a pretty full hand, but we don't have any good Act of Treason targets. There's another Graveborn Muse, however. And now we don't have any good attacks left. Our opponent is at 9, however, and we drew Battledriver. So next turn potentially we could do some damage. I don't think we need to play out our land. And pass a turn. Opponent goes to 8. And let's see if he has another Act of Treason for the Battledriver here. There's the Act of Treason once again. So gets to attack us for potentially 6. Or just a 3. Again, not gonna block, although I guess we might as well block like this, since our opponent's otherwise gonna kill this anyways, and only take 1 damage from the blasting station instead of 3 from the Battledriver. Opponent's gonna sacrifice him, deal 1 to us, and nothing else. There's Inferno Titan. And let's see here. So we can attack with the Cartographer. Opponent probably blocks. But if he doesn't, then he takes 2 plus another 3. Plus another 1 from the trigger of the Graveborn Muse. Thing is, if our opponent has another Act of Treason, playing the Inferno Titan isn't great. But I guess we still go for it here. Would have been sweet with the Battledriver in play. So our opponent can sacrifice the Muse here, but he did not. Attack for 2. And hope our opponent does not have another Act of Treason. Could have 2 left, plus the Portent of Betrayal, which is the 4 mana Act of Treason. So he would get to attack us for 6, killing the Cartographer. But if he does not, then he's just dead next turn, unless he makes some blockers here. Alright, looks like he does not have another Act of Treason. So makes 2 Goblin tokens, which will just die to the Inferno Titan. And I think, yeah, that's gonna do it. Alright, Mantra of the Meek, a little late to the party. Attack. Do this, and do that. And we can even pump the Inferno Titan, but that's not gonna be necessary here. Alright, let's move on to the final game.